want you to picture a morning, not a bright birds are singing kind of morning, not a coffee on the porch, everything's fine kind of morning. No, this one is gray, not unlike today, heavy, the kind of morning where the air itself feels tired. The kind of morning you wake up into when something important has ended and you're not quite sure what will come next. Mary Magdalene knows this kind of morning. She gets up early, not because she slept well, but because grief has a way of waking you before the alarm clock. She walks to the tomb, and she is not thinking, well, maybe today will be a miracle. No, she's thinking, this is where they laid him. She is expecting death to behave like death, which is definitely something to say final. Now, Peter, over in another part of this story, far from the quiet garden, Peter is having what we might call a moment. You know, the kind where something shifts in your understanding and you can't unsee it. Truly, I understand, Peter says, which if you're ever had one of those moments, you know means I thought I understood before, but I really didn't. I truly understand that God shows no partiality. Now that sounds pretty polite, almost like something you'd say at a dinner table. But what Peter is really saying is this: God does not play favorites. God is not keeping a guest list. God is not standing at the door saying, you can come in, but you cannot. And Peter, who had spent his whole life thinking there were lines, realizes in this moment there are no lines at all. Now, back in the garden, Mary arrives, and the stone, the heavy, final, sealed all up kind of stone, is already moved. And Mary does what most of us would do. She assumes something has gone wrong. They've taken him. Because when you've had enough things go wrong in your life, you stop expecting that things are going to go right. We know something about that, don't we? You turn on the news and you have to brace yourself. You get a phone call at an odd hour, your stomach drops. You hear the words, we need to talk, and you assume it is absolutely not good news. We learn over time to expect the worst. Mary is not faithless, she is human, and then Easter happens. Not all at once. Not with fireworks, not with a marching band. Easter happens quietly, confusingly, almost politely. Peter later on tries to explain this. He says, Jesus went about doing good, which might be the most understated sentence in the Bible. He healed people, he fed people, he stood with people nobody else would stand with. He told the truth in a world that preferred comfort. He loved people who had been told they were unlovable, and for that, he was killed. And if we're honest, we still see this pattern today. You stand up for something, for somebody on the margins, and somebody says, you've gone too far. You say, everyone is welcome here, and then somebody says, well, not everyone. You work for justice, fairness, inclusion, and then there's pushback. Because love, real love, still disrupts things. But then Peter says the line that changes everything. But God raised him on the third day. And you can almost hear the pause after that. Because it's not just an event, that's a declaration. That death does not get the final word. Love is not fragile. That what we thought was finished isn't. Meanwhile, Mary is still crying. Even with the stone rolled away, even with angels asking her gentle questions, because sometimes, even when new life is right in front of us, we're not ready to see it yet. And then it happens. Jesus says one word, Mary. That's it. No explanation, no theology, no, let me walk you through what just happened. Just her name. And suddenly, everything shifts for Mary. Because there is something about being known, isn't there? Really known, not as a category, not as a label, but as yourself, who you are. It's like being in a crowded room and feeling invisible until someone looks up and says your name. Like they've been looking all around for you, all along. Or like someone who has been told in 100 different ways, you don't quite belong here. Hearing for the first time, no, actually, you do belong here. Or like carrying something heavy for so long, you've forgotten what it feels like to put it down. And then one day you do. That's resurrection. Not just something that happened then, something that happens. Mary hears her name, and she becomes the first one to tell the story, which is remarkable when you really think about it, because she is not the obvious choice in first century Israel. She's not powerful. She's not even officially credible as a woman in that time. And yet, when you really think about this, she is the first preacher of Easter. I have seen the Lord. Think about that. She was the first one to preach an Easter sermon. And later on, and suddenly Peter realizes, it makes sense, God shows no partiality. Of course, because if God did, Mary wouldn't have been the first witness. Easter is not just about life after death. It's about who gets to be part of that life, which is to say, everyone does. The one who feels left out, the one who have been told, not you, the ones who aren't sure they believe enough or strong enough or know enough or belong enough. But everyone belongs. And not just included, they are invited to be witnesses, which brings us quietly to each of us, each and every one of us. Because Easter asks a question not loudly but persistently. If this is true, if love really is stronger than death, if God really shows no partiality, then how will we live in this life? Will we keep accepting the worst or expecting the worst? Or will we leave room for hope? Will we keep drawing lines in the sand, or will we start erasing them? Will we stay quiet, or will we, in whatever way we can, tell the story? Because resurrection is not just something that we agree with once a year. It is something that we should be practicing every day. It looks like choosing kindness when irritation would be much easier. It looks like standing beside somebody who has been standing alone for years. It looks like building a community where all truly are welcome and actually means all. Easter says the stone has been rolled away, not just once, but wherever we thought something was over. So if you came here this morning a little tired, a little uncertain, carrying something that you didn't expect to be carrying this long, listen. Resurrection might not arrive all at once, but it is already on the move. And it might sound very simple, like your name, And when you hear it, you'll know Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. Amen.